Yo, what it is, YouTube? It's your boy Nisi coming back with another bullseye of a tutorial here today on the channel. Next episode, we're gonna be talking about the music. Okay, so with the music, let me jump right into it. How I like to operate with my music is I actually like to work backwards. I like to apply something like a J37 tape in the very beginning, and I like to mix into that because I know that that's what's kind of gonna glue my stuff together. You know, with my music, I'm always paying attention. Do I want to have my music center focused, or do I want to have it like, separated? It's kind of like playing with a yo-yo. Do I want the yo-yo to be to me, or do I want to throw it? You know what I mean? So that's how I see, making music: separation and collecting, putting stuff together, taking it apart. All right, so let's listen to how I was using the J37 to add a little bit of analog tone to, sometimes these instruments, these samples that we get kind of glues everything together. Love using something like the J37 tape to just give it a little bit of analog tone, makes everything sound just a little bit more real. And of course, I have a pair of Neve 542s in front of me, and some songs I don't even use the Neve 542s. I might use the J37 tape. It depends on the song, but the J37 tape is pretty good. Now, of course, it's not like a real hardware tape simulator, but I'm just saying it's in the ballpark. So after that, this is kind of a move I made towards the end. Sometimes when you're mixing some stuff towards the end, you got to change some stuff. I cut out just a little bit of mid-range just to clear up all of the music, wrote off a little bit of body, just because I know my 808 and my kick was hitting just the way I wanted it to. These samples didn't even have that much low end in them, but it's something you have to be aware of, and added a little presence to the melody. So this simple EQ move just helped everything cut through a little bit better and clean everything up. All right, so you guys get an understanding of what's going on. And then after that, of course, I use something like center. I like to use something like center because what I'm doing is I'm just pretty much lowering just the mid channel. And most of these plugins are all in the Waves Gold bundle. It's just like I used I would say I used about 7 plugins that were not in the Waves Gold bundle, for this challenge. But the thing about it is y'all got to understand that like you can't just conform yourself to just a small amount of plugins. You need tools to get the job done. Like sometimes you get a plumber to come to your house. He's got all types of tools. He's got a plunger, he's got a wrench, he's got a socket driver or whatever type of thing. You need these tools to be able to execute the job. So I use something like center to just make the mid channel more quiet, and also just kind of make everything wider from a whole bus perspective. And I do this in the very beginning. Just to kind of already get things that's already kind of fit a little bit. And then if I hear certain sounds that I need to adjust, I'll go in. Even with the drums, I was not going in on everything. I think that's a mistake that a lot of young engineers make. I mean, I'm a young engineer and I don't make those mistakes. I used to, but I don't want you guys to make those mistakes, is, putting an SSL channel on every single channel. Like, no, that's stupid as hell. Just fix what needs to be fixed and move on pretty much. So let's look at the center real fast. So what I'm doing right here is just pretty much using that center channel to make it a little bit quieter. Kind of sound like it was too jumbled inside of that seat. It's like sound like it was trying to, step into a school bus, but there was already 2 kids inside of that same space, which is going to be the vocals as well as the drums. That's the 2 kids. So this kid right here, he's got to go to another seat, which is, being a little bit ducked off lower inside of the bus. So that's kind of how I visualize this whole stuff. I kind of see like spaces in my head and stuff like that. And that's really how I mix. Okay, so that's the music bus. Okay, now let's look at some some of the instruments that I felt like needed a little bit of work. And that's the mindset you need to have when you're doing this shit. Don't be trying to sit here and trying to put an SSL on every single channel. Like, no, like you need to see what's not sounding good and what is sounding good. You just kind of gotta hear everything. You gotta sit back and let the music talk to you. If you sit back, you let the music talk to you, the music will tell you, oh, you gotta fix that sound. Oh, you gotta fix that sound. It will be very obvious. But if you put a predetermined mindset into your head, like these YouTubers try to put into you that, oh, you gotta put an SSL on everything and you gotta use the SSL, and you have a predetermined mindset, now you're gonna start fucking up shit that don't even need to be touched. Okay, so the main element that I brought in first was the acoustic guitar, because that's the main melody for literally the whole entire like song and everything like that. You know what I mean? So I use the SSL channel, you know, this is kind of how I'm gluing everything, using the same channel strip. You know, sometimes I might use a different channel strip if I want to, you know, separate stuff. But that's the thing about channel strips. That's the thing about gluing your mix. It's a mindset. Gluing your mix is not just slapping on a bus compressor and that's it. Gluing your mix is understand, okay, I got this shit leveled the right way. Okay, I'm kind of using the same plugins and the same style and everything like that, you know, because that's what's gluing it as well. Your decisions, the channel strip you pick, you know, the EQ moves that you're making and the compressors and all that stuff that you're using, you know, similar stuff inside of the smoothie, you know, the ingredients that you're putting inside the smoothie. I could have two different types of smoothie at Smoothie King that both got a certain amount of carrots in it. Even though that one might have more carrots than the other, you can still tell it's still got a little bit of that carrot. That's what makes the drinks kind of the same, you know, under the same family. So you got to understand shit like that too. Wrote off a lot of low end on the acoustic guitar. My kick and my bass is already taking up the low end. I don't need the low end from this sample, okay? And let's listen to how much low end was on this damn sample. And of course, you know, I kind of located like where is like the presence energy of the acoustic guitar. And in a situation like this, you know, some people towards the end of the mix, they might be like, oh, I got to boost the level of the acoustic guitar because maybe I don't hear it. But you got to understand the frequency spectrum, right? If you can locate like the main melody, the fundamental of the acoustic guitar, you could just boost that by like half a dB or whatever, how much dBs you need, and that will help it cut through the mix, you know? So my mix was kind of getting pretty aggressive. So let's look at this real quick. You know, if I take off this green band, how you can kind of like not even hear it anymore. And of course, you know, also carving out the mid-range, all the stuff that we don't need, and doing just a little bit of compressing. That VCA topology also has a transient enhancement type of situation too. You got to understand the type of compressors, because this one, that VCA is very snappy, just like how it was snappy and it helped me with my clap, it helped me with my kick. I understand, okay, SSL got the VCA in it too big, so I can use a little bit of compression on this acoustic guitar that you feel me? That has nothing to do with taming no goddamn peaks. Okay, that has everything to do with tone. Okay, the tone, how I want it to speak, I want it to snap, I want it to bite a little bit. I want this acoustic guitar to show me its teeth. You know what I mean? Show me its fangs. So that's why I use this type of compressor. And with that VCA, the way the release time and everything is set up, it kind of just jumps at you. See, that's how you make your song sound 3D. Understanding that compression is not about taming no dumbass peaks. Whoever said that to you and keeps repeating it to you, they ain't your friend, okay? So after that, we have the guitar lick. The guitar lick don't even come around too much often, but for sure, I kind of wanted to make the guitar lick a lot wider, you know, and I also used the same exact kind of move that I used on the other one. So that's kind of how I glued those two things together. But this one, I think it has a little bit more top end than the other one, you know, it kind of has a little bit more air, you know, so let's look at that real fast too. So the compressor is not even working, but I just kept it on anyways because, you know, even if it's not compressing, it's still running through that circuitry, which is kind of gluing it as well and everything like that. All right. So after that, we have what, this little vinyl guitar. I didn't even do anything to it because it sounded good. So that's something that you need to learn. And I think the last thing I did with the music bus in general, because the music sounded so great. The loop was made by Rick Anthony. Shout out to my dog, right? The music was very simple. You got to keep it very simple. You know, this is a marathon. You know what I mean? When you're doing this mixing, all stuff like that. You know, if it already sounds good, don't worry about it. You feel me? You don't have to touch something just to touch it. You know what I mean? We used this wide galaxy pad. I felt like it was just a little bit too narrow, so I used the S1 stereo imager to widen it up a little bit. And I used the low level compression technique. I used a very light ratio on the R comp. And that's the thing about the R comp, right? Is that it lets you do these little ratios. And if you can do a little ratio, you can put more of your hand inside of the cookie jar. If you use a bigger ratio like this, like 8 to 10, it's gonna work more on the peak energy. It's gonna work more on the top of the cup, the top of the lid. You feel me? But if you use a lighter ratio, it's gonna let the compression put more of its hand inside the pickle jar, pretty much, you know? So that was really important because I wanted to add some solidity to the Galaxy pad that when it was coming in and everything like that. So let's check to see when the Galaxy pad was coming in. And that's the thing about compression. Even though I'm not adding no dBs, you know, you got the music is like a fruits inside of a cart at a supermarket. You feel me? If I can figure out a way to pack these fruits inside of the shopping cart when I'm at the supermarket, I can put more fruits inside of my shopping cart versus if I just, you know, threw them all over the place because I got everything organized. I got all the boxes prepped. So what I'm trying to say is the compression pretty much is letting me pack everything into a tighter space, and it kind of sounds louder even though we don't have no makeup gain, you know, just because it packed everything a little bit closer. So yeah, that was pretty much it, you know, just using a low level compression technique, fastest attack, fastest release, just to really hold on everything, and it keeps the music in its place. It's not jumping around as much, you know what I mean? It has a little bit more presence to it. So yeah, that's the end of the video that I got right here today for the music bus. We kind of went over everything, just straight up leveled all of the instruments here and there. If I hear something that's loud, I bring it down a few dBs and just making some adjustments here and there. And this is a very nice session because look at that, you know, that's why I use Studio Rack, right? This is why I use Studio Rack, because of the psychology of mixing. Like I said, you know, like you will lose your mind if you try to do like what we're doing in this course, is doing the whole production and all that stuff. You need to have other people working with you. And even if you can't afford it, of course, in the beginning, you'll learn. What I'm trying to say, though, the reason why I use Studio Rack is because it helps me keep my mind under control, because I don't have to see a bunch of plugins all over the place. And that's just going to make me start overthinking. So my stuff looks like a clean desk. You know, some people, when they go to work, if they have a clean desk, they're a lot more productive. And that's kind of what I got going on with this session right now. Everything is just looking so clean. And that's because of Studio Rack, pretty much. You know what I mean? And to finish off my beat, I also had an NLS channel on my entire beat bus, and just driving it a little bit. You know, that saturation of that SSL console, you know, from Spike was gluing the whole beat together. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. Now that was actually kind of gluing the beat, but it wasn't a bus compressor. It was a saturator. It was applying the same honey garlic mayonnaise dressing on top of the whole entire beat that made it sound a little bit more cohesive and taste good all together when I played it. Yeah, so that really actually gave us a little bit of our glue. And like I was saying in the other episode, right? In the episode where I was setting up the tracks, sometimes I just send my 808 directly to the mix bus, you know, or I send it directly to the beat bus or wherever, you know, sometimes I navigate it differently. Like for example, if I don't want my 808 to get crushed by that limiter or whatever I had on the all drums, I would send it just directly to the beat bus. So that's kind of how I navigate with my 808, because sometimes you start putting the 808 with all of that other processing compression, it will start to sound bad, you know. And that's the thing about an 808 is it's very, very dependent. You know, sometimes you put a different saturator like a Nevo or mic and boom, now the 808 changes completely differently, you know. So that's something to always pay attention to. Listen to your low end, listen to your mid range, listen to your high end, and know that everything has to work off of each other. All right, so that's the end of this episode. And now the next thing that we're gonna be going into is gonna be the vocals. If you guys enjoy this, don't forget that we got the Patreon, the private group where we drop these gems so easy all the time. So, you know, go ahead and check it out in a link down below and everything like that. And now next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna jump into the vocals. All right, appreciate you guys now.